Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. And for now, we will be talking about how blockchain gaming has formalized the trades that happen in the Web2 gaming space. And to talk about that, we will first need to talk about the rise of blockchain gaming as an introduction and also see how Web2 gamers earn real monetary value from playing a game. We will talk about opportunity cost and value creation as economic concepts and how that applies to the Web3 space, and talk about the risks of informal trade present in the Web2 gaming ecosystem, and finally, how Web3 formalizes that informal trade. Lastly, we will be discussing what does all of this mean for protocols. So to start, the rise of blockchain gaming happened actually in 2021 and it was led by a really popular game called Axie Infinity. So if you follow the P2E space, the blockchain gaming space, you would know what Axie Infinity is. And the main highlights are basically player-owned assets. So this is the one of the first projects that actually gave ownership to the players and rewards the players with cryptocurrencies that have real-world monetary value from playing the game. So it was adopted by a lot of countries, but mainly the Philippines, Brazil, and Venezuela adopted this game as a way to cope with lost jobs due to the pandemic. And basically, it allows normal or the average gamer playing this game to earn income or to earn something in exchange for just interacting with the ecosystem. So basically, you don't have to be a content creator or an esports pro player to actually gain value from playing this game. So this is what happened in 2021 that actually led to the popularity and the boom of the blockchain gaming space. But let's take a step back first and see how the traditional games, how normal players earn using by playing the traditional game. So in Web 2, actually, it was deeply researched that digital assets have value because gamers give it value. And it's done basically because gamers grind to reach a high level in order to get access to higher tier loot and or develop competitive characters which they then sell to third party websites in exchange for fiat currency. So basically, players create a game account, they grind, they play the game, they get high tier loot because of the high level that their characters have, and they either sell the account or sell the loot that they get to third party websites. So assets are sold either on a per asset basis or per account basis depending on the game. But the key detail here is that these third party websites are usually not affiliated with the game developers themselves. Actually, some game developers actually inform their community not to interact with websites like these. So why do these digital assets actually have value? So to better understand that, we need to talk about opportunity cost. So the first detail of opportunity cost that we need to talk about is time. And basically, their players in these ecosystem have a U-shaped utility curve where at one point the marginal utility to play an extra hour of the game becomes negative. So basically this happens because we have a fixed amount of hours in a day. So we have 24 hours. So let's say 8 of those hours we devote to work. So we have another 16 hours left. So the other 8 is devoted to rest. Let's say we need to sleep 7 to 8 hours per day. So that leaves us with another 8 hours left within our day to do what for leisure activities. Basically, let's assume that we're all working from home. So that last 8 hours is for leisure activity. So the more we continue to play, we will get utility from playing, which is still negative. But then as we continue on, slowly that utility diminishes. Why? Because one, those 8 hours, if you use it all on play, then you would need to eat. So that means less time allocated for you to eat. And once you consume all those 8 hours and you want to still play another hour or so, so that affects your work time or that affects your sleep time. So actually, it affects you as a person negatively, and that's why the marginal utility becomes negative the more time spent on playing this game. So the other aspect is income. So basically, players would opt to spend an hour of playing if it means that their utility is greater than the opportunity cost of using that same time to earn income instead. So basically, if I'm a player, if I would get more value of using that 1 hour to play the game rather than using that 1 hour for work and earn an income, then that is a trade-off in itself, and that is an opportunity cost tied to a dollar value in itself. So actually, an economist named Edward Castronova created this North Economic Survey in 2001, which actually shows that EverQuest players who consider themselves residents of the game tend to have less earthly responsibilities or wages, meaning that they have lower opportunity cost. This means that since they have lower opportunity cost in the real world, they would just use that same time or that same hour of either playing or working just to play the game instead, because it will yield a higher utility for them. So where is the value created in this? So value is created when players actually who have the time to grind for these digital assets sell the accounts or the assets to players who are not willing to spend that time on the game but have reasons to acquire a high level asset or character, possibly because they want to play with their friends who are currently high level in the game, but they don't have the time to grind it, so they would rather pay a monetary value or monetary price instead of using that time or losing that time to play the game. So how does all of this translate to the Web3 space? So basically for Web3, it's easier to calculate the financial values as most of the game's value comes from token rewards. So tokens or cryptocurrencies have a direct fiat equivalent that we could use to measure between the time it takes to play the game. So players enter the market when opportunity cost not to play the game is higher than the income or utility gain from doing something else. So this is why we see developing countries adopt crypto games easier than most developed countries, because in developing countries who have a lower minimum wage, they have a lower opportunity cost, thus choosing to play the game because it yields higher financial value for them. So basic players whose primary motivation for entering the game to earn income will start churning out of the game once that this earning potential or opportunity cost of not playing the game is lower than the utility of other activities. So these other activities could be using that same hour for work or using that same hour to play a different blockchain game entirely. So basically here, I mentioned that these are players whose primary motivation of entering the game is to earn an income, but then income is not the only factor that motivates players who enter this ecosystem. Basically, blockchain games are more than just a revenue generating protocol. They are games that people find value and utility in playing. So there is an intrinsic value associated with playing these games, and that add to the opportunity cost of choosing not to play the game instead. And this could be value in terms of entertainment. It could be in terms of fulfillment of playing the game, or speculative value that this particular blockchain game will increase in price in the future. So this is the Web3 version or Web3 equivalent of the opportunity cost from the Web2 space. So going back to Web2, basically, I mentioned earlier that trades happen in third-party websites, and because they happen in third-party websites, there are risks for informal trade. So the risks involve a question of legitimacy as transactions happens on these platforms that are not affiliated with the game. So just to give context, I found a report basically saying that someone faced 9,000 criminal charges in Poland for scamming people by selling the same video game account multiple times from 2014 to 2018. So this in itself already provides a risk, because even though you use these third-party apps or third-party websites or third-party platforms, there's still no telling if the game account or game asset in question is legitimate or not. And also, there was a report in 2019 saying that video games have been a method for money laundering, mainly because video game assets have value. So this is used by bad actors to actually launder their money so that this dirty money can go back into the financial ecosystem so they could use for whatever sketchy activities that they want to do. So how does Web3 formalize this informal trade? So basically, blockchain technology adds codes to digital assets that allow for ownership within the network. So a digital asset is unique and cannot be sold more than once by the same seller. So this in itself already prevents that first issue that we saw where someone sold a gaming account multiple times. Additionally, blockchain technology is also transparent, so all transactions happening in the network are seen off-chain. This makes tracking funds easier because there's essentially a digital paper trail that's left behind with each transaction. So to give context, the CEO of Binance tweeted in late April that the DPRK hacking group that moved stolen funds from the blockchain game Axie Infinity made its way to Binance. So their cryptocurrency platform and was spread over 86 accounts. So because it was transferred there, they were able to actually get back $5.8 million worth of that stolen funds. And basically, that adds an extra layer of safety, knowing that each transaction can be traced back. So before they're able to withdraw the transaction, different groups can already stop that from happening. So what does this mean for protocols? So basically, protocols must understand that blockchain gaming adds legitimacy to digital gaming asset trade that has long been informal in the traditional scene. So this adds an added layer of trust within the community as marketplaces are either affiliated with or are being operated by the protocol themselves. There is also an existing non-monetary value that players give the game. So it's not just about earning potential of the protocol, but other intrinsic values that make users stay in the ecosystem. And protocols must be aware of this. So this is the value that protocols should focus on in order to prevent excessive value extraction from their economies.